Hello, hello, welcome. And if you have been here before, welcome back, my friend. Thank you for joining me today. In this tutorial, we are going to be crocheting a hat. Fall is officially upon us, so it is time to start stitching on those chilly weather wearables. So if you know how to single crochet, half double crochet, and you are comfortable working in the round, then you can make this hat. So without further ado, let's dive in. To make my hat, I'm going to be using the Red Heart Super Saver yarn, which is a 100% acrylic worsted weight yarn. I forget what color this is, but I will leave that information in the description. Along with the yarn, I'm going to be using a 4.5 and a 5.5 millimeter hook. You're also going to need a pom-pom. This is optional. I like the snap-on ones. I get these off Amazon. I'll leave the link to that in the description as well. You're also going to need your tapestry needle, tape measure, and some scissors. So grab your supplies and let's get started. All right, we're going to start with our smaller hook. For me, that's the 4.5 millimeter, and my yarn and a tape measure. And I'm going to be starting off by working the brim of the hat, which is our ribbing. So I'm just going to make a slip knot, place the slip knot on my hook, and then I'm going to make a chain that is 2 inches long. So I'm just going to chain any number of stitches until my chain is 2 inches long. Okay, so I've made my chain and it is exactly 2 inches, and that is, I have 8 chains. So now I'm going to add one more chain for my turning chain. And now I'm going to be working single crochet across my chain. So I'm going to skip the first chain and into the next chain, just under that top loop. I'm going to work a single crochet in that first chain and then in each chain all the way across. And when I get to the end of the row, I'm going to chain 1, turn, and now I'm going to be working single crochet under the back loop only across my row. So chain 1. In this first stitch, I'm going to insert my hook under the back loop only and work a single crochet. And then I will work a back loop only single crochet in each stitch all the way across. And then when I get to the end of the row, I will chain 1, turn, and repeat row 2, which is just a single crochet under the back loop only in each stitch across. We're going to continue working rows of back loop only single crochet until our ribbing measures 19 inches without stretching. So you're just going to continue working back and forth in rows until your ribbing is 19 inches long. I've completed my ribbing and I just laid it flat and measured it out. So that's what you're going to do. You're not going to stretch it to make it the measurement you need it to be. You want to work it and then lay it flat as is and measure it out. Mine is at 19 inches, and how long you make this just depends on your head circumference. So the average head circumference for a woman is 21 to 23 inches, and for a man, it's 22 to 24. And you want to make your ribbing 2 to 4 inches shorter than your head circumference. So my head circumference is 22, so I made my chain 19, which is short 3 inches, so that when stretched, the hat will stretch around the head and fit and not be loose and falling off. So once you've worked your ribbing to your desired length, then you're just going to take both ends, so the working end and then your end where we started with our starting chain. I'm going to chain 1 and we're going to slip stitch both ends together in order to form a circle. So I'm going to go under the back loop of my first stitch and then under both loops from my starting chain and work a slip stitch, and then again under the back loop and then under both loops. And I'm just going to do that to close up both ends. And once I've completed that slip stitch seam, I am going to chain 1, and now I'm going to switch to my larger hook. So I've grabbed my larger hook and now I'm going to start working in the round. So for round 1, I'm going to work 1/2 double crochet in the end of each row all the way around. So I'm going to yarn over, and in this first row here, I'm just going to go under 2 loops on the side of that row and work a 1/2 double crochet. Here's my next row. Yarn over under 2 loops of the stitch on the side of that row, 1/2 double crochet, and I'm going to continue working like that all the way around. I've finished working 1/2 double crochet around the brim of the hat, and before we start our next round, I just wanted to note that we are going to be working in turned rounds, because for the stitch pattern we're using 1/2 double crochets, and if you work 1/2 double crochet stitches in the round going in the same direction, your join is going to start to create an angle. So then you're going to be able to see the seam going off to the side. So in order to keep our join straight, we're going to be working in turned rounds. So we just finished round 1. So in order to close the round, we're going to slip stitch to our first stitch, and then we will chain 1 and turn. And for our stitch pattern, we're going to be alternating back loop and front loop only, half double crochet. So in our first stitch, we're going to yarn over and we're going to work a half double crochet under the back loop only. And for our next stitch, we're going to yarn over and we're going to work a half double crochet under the front loop only. Now we're going to repeat that all the way around in the next stitch, yarn over, working a half double crochet under the back loop only. Next stitch, yarn over, half double crochet under the front loop only. So you're going to continue working all the way around, alternating one back loop only half double crochet, then one front loop only half double crochet. So continue working and I'll meet you at the end of the round. I'm coming up to the end of my round, and before we close the round, I want to show you so you don't miss your last stitch, because when you're working in turned rounds, you can often miss this last stitch. So you always want to make sure that you pull your work up, and where you did that slip stitch into this stitch here, you want to make sure that you're working into this stitch. So this stitch was a back loop, half double crochet. So in this stitch, I will work a front loop, half double crochet. It will be a little finicky to get into that last stitch because it's often a little tight, but just be careful not to miss it. Okay, so that was my last stitch. Now I'm going to slip stitch to my first stitch, chain 1 and turn my work. And now I'm going to repeat what I did. But on this row, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to start with a front loop, half double crochet, and then a back loop, half double crochet. So these little bars that you're seeing on the work alternate in the rows as well. So here you can see this little bar across the front of this stitch here, which means when we work this stitch, we want to pull up this front bar so that you don't see one right above it, just so everything is alternating nicely. So in this first stitch here, we're going to yarn over and work a front loop, half double crochet. In our next stitch, we will work a back loop only, half double crochet, yarn over into our next stitch, a front loop only, half double crochet, yarn over into the next stitch, back loop only, half double crochet, and just continue like that, alternating your stitches, front loop only, back loop only, all the way around. So go ahead and do that and I'll meet you at the end of the round. I'm coming up to the end of my row. I'm just working my last stitch here. Then I will slip stitch to my first stitch to close the round, then chain 1 and turn. And now we're just going to continue working in turned rounds until our hat measures 7.5 inches from the brim to the top of the hat. And as you continue working, just remember that one round will start with a back loop only, then a front loop only, and then the other round will start with a front loop and then a back loop. That's the only difference between the rounds. It's which stitch you start with. So continue working your rounds and I'll meet you back when my hat measures 7.5 inches. All right, I have worked my rounds and now my hat measures about 7.5 inches, which is what I want. And now, in order for me to complete the hat, I'm working to a hat height of 8.5 inches. And I find 8 to 8.5 inches works for most heads. So I'm going to work to 8.5. I have 7.5 right now, so I need to work 1 more inch. And for me, 1 inch is 3 rounds. So I'm going to be decreasing over 3 rounds. And for my first round of decrease, I'm going to work 3 stitches and then a decrease. And then I will adjust that as I go up just to make sure I'm getting a nice gradual decrease. How I decrease the crown section of my hats, it's not necessarily an exact science. I just find depending on how many rounds I have. So here I have 3 rounds to work. So I will start with decreasing the 4th stitch. So I will work 1, 2, 3 stitches and then decrease stitch number 4. And then on the following round, I will work 2 stitches and then decrease the 3rd stitch. And then on the final round, I will just work decreases all the way around, and that usually gives me a nice gradual decrease. And that's how I work it out. If I were to do more rounds, say instead of 3 rounds, I needed to do 4 for my first round, I would work 5 stitches and then decrease stitch number 6, just kind of working it out like that, just so I'm alternating the decreases as well. So when I'm working the decreases, they're not sitting right on top of each other. So I'm going to work all 3 rounds of decreases with you. So for my first round, I am going to slip stitch to my first stitch, like always, to close the previous round. Now I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and I am going to work 3 stitches and then a decrease. So I'm just going to work in pattern like I normally would. So my first stitch will be a back loop only, half double crochet, then a front loop only, half double crochet, then a back loop only, half double crochet, and now I will just work a regular half double crochet 2 together. So I'm going to yarn over, insert into my next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert into my following stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through all the loops on my hook, and then start working in pattern again. So here I'm going to work a front loop only, then a back loop only, then a front loop only, and then work a decrease. And that's how I'm going to work all the way around. So continue working just like that, working 3 stitches, then a decrease all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. I'm coming up to the end of my round. I have a few stitches left before I'm finished, but I just wanted to run through something with you. So I have 6 stitches here, so I will be able to do my 1, 2, 3 stitches, then a decrease, and then I have 1 stitches left. When I'm decreasing like this, it doesn't always work out perfectly. So what I normally do is I always want to end with a decrease and no more than like 1 or 2 stitches. So for example, say I only had 4 stitches left. To close the round, I would work 2 stitches and then a decrease. Because I didn't start the round with a decrease, I want a decrease as close to the end of the round as I can possibly get it. So here, my decrease is 1 stitch away from the end of the round, so I will just continue working and I'm okay with that. But as I said, if I only had 4 stitches, I would work 2 and then end with a decrease. You just want to make sure your decreases are evenly placed so that the hat closes in nicely and it doesn't look all wonky. So I'm just going to finish off my round. And now for my next round, I'm going to turn my work. And for this round, I'm going to work 2 stitches and then a decrease. So on the previous round, I did 3 stitches and then a decrease. Now I'm going to work 2 and then a decrease. So I'm going to work my first stitch, my second stitch, and then work a decrease. Now I will work 2 stitches, and then a decrease. And that's how I will work all the way around. For this second round of decreases, I'm going to work 2 stitches and then a decrease. So continue working and I'll meet you at the end of the round. I'm coming up to the end of my round. I just worked 2 stitches. So my next stitch will be a decrease. And then I will finish off with my final stitch. Now I'm going to close this round by slip stitch into my first stitch. And now for my final round, it'll just be a round of decreases. So I'm going to decrease every stitch. So I'm going to work a half double crochet 2 together all the way around. So I chain 1, I turned, and now I'm going to yarn over into my first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert into my next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all loops on my hook, and again, yarn over, insert into my next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, into my next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all the loops on my hook, and that's how I'm going to work all the way around, working a half double crochet 2 together all the way around. So you can go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. Coming up to the end of the round, I'm going to work a half double crochet 2 together in my last 2 stitches, and then I'm going to slip stitch to my first stitch. I'll grab my scissors, cut my yarn, leaving a long tail to sew up the top of the hat. And I'm going to fasten off, grab my tapestry needle, and to close up the top of the hat, I'm going to weave my tapestry needle in and out of every other stitch. So this is my first stitch. I'm not going to go into this stitch. I'm going to go into the next stitch from the outside, skip that stitch, go in through the next stitch. So I'm in this one here, skip this one, and then come back in the other stitch. And that's how I'm going to just weave in and out around the top of the hat, just going in and out of every other stitch all the way around. And then when I get back to the beginning of the round, I'm going to go under my first stitch. And then I'm just going to pull on the tail to close the top of the hat. And then I'm just going to weave around a little bit just to close up the tiny hole that's usually left. And then after this, I will add my pom-pom. Now the pom-pom is optional. You don't have to add one, or you could make one using yarn. But I will just show you how I attach the pom-pom that I have, the one with the snap, so that you can take it off and wash the hat without ruining the fur on the pom-pom. So usually I don't cut the yarn, I just kind of leave it attached. And then I grab my pom-pom, and mine has one there. And then this is how it connects. So when I'm stitching it down, I want to stitch it with the hole facing up. And then I just place it in the center. And then I go in through one of these tiny little holes. And as I'm doing this, I want to make sure I'm not catching stitches on the inside of the hat, just to make sure that I'm not ruining the hat as I'm doing it. So just be careful and pay attention to where your tapestry needle is going in and out of the piece, because I have done that where I have caught stitches on the inside and then had to start over. And I just usually pull it fairly tight, and I only work around this attachment once, because if I do it more than that, then the yarn gets too thick and then it's tricky to add the pom-pom when you're done. So once I've gone around everything once, I flip it inside out, and then I'm going to weave around and then tie a knot to fasten off this tail here. And when I'm ready to tie my knot, I just go through, I take this end of the yarn and wrap it around the top of my tapestry needle twice, and then pull through to secure the knot. And then you can weave the tail in a little bit more. I usually do, and then I will fasten off, and that will be it. You're just going to weave it in, fasten off, weave in the tail from the beginning, and then you will be done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. If you have questions or need clarification on any of the steps, you can leave that in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care and bye for now.